Welcome to the review and a game where Leeds United ran out 3-1 winners against Wolverhampton Wanderers yesterday as Daniel Farke's side picked up their first away win of the Premier League season. Going into the game, Daniel Farke made not many changes to the side. He sticked with a side which I would have thoroughly gone with, the side I predicted as well. I thought Brendan Aronson should have started. I think he was right to start and I think he justified himself starting. Again, some other people may have gone for Altanaka in there as well, but I do think the midfield has been pretty faultless leading into the game. So it's been a pretty easy decision for me in terms of picking the starting 11. And Carl Darlow, again, has been sublime so far this season and throughout his time as Leeds keeper at the back end of last year. So, looking at how the game got off to a pretty strange start, not a great start. Wolves got an opener pretty early in the game. Craigie started with a goal which Leeds could have defended better. However, short bit of concentration is all it takes at this level, and Wolves found themselves 1-0 in front. Probably a bit unexpected on their half, but for Leeds it was a disappointing start. But from then on, I don't think Leeds really looked much that. Leeds didn't really look flustered. They looked confident. They looked sharp as well. When you look at who played in that attack, Noah Brendan Aronson and Dom Calvert-Lewin, I think all of them had good games. Okafor probably having the worst of the three, but by no means a bad game. Just wasn't at his best. But the first goal came with Jayden Bogle, someone who I think, in terms of the championship lot from last season, has made the best step up, and I've been the most impressed with him. I think both fullbacks have been the most consistent players in the team this season, with Gudmundsson and Bogle both having consistent spells. And when you look at Bogle yesterday, again, just proving his quality, a great whipped-in cross onto the head of Calvert-Lewin, who, wow, he leapt higher than any defender in that box and headed it past Jose Sarr in goal. And you're thinking 1-1, game on, Calvert-Lewin his first goal in a Leeds shirt. He's going to crack on and, maybe hit the ground running and who knows, get another one. And Leeds, didn't let up there. They carried on pursuing the goals. Dom Calvert-Lewin was then brought down in the box, or just outside the box later on in the game, just after half an hour, and it was Anton Stack's turn to step up for that set piece. And again, a lot of people questioning why he's on set pieces this season, and there's always going to be a reason based on what's happening in training that we don't know about, but I do think he thoroughly proved those doubters wrong with his set piece. He was absolutely pinpoint with his precision, and he hit an absolutely emphatic strike into the top right-hand corner, beating Jose Sarr, who was rooted to his spot. The goalkeeper probably should have done better, but take nothing away from the strike, it was sublime, and no keeper in the league probably would have saved that goal. And you're looking at it then, and Leeds are sort of cruising at that point, not really having any sort of challenge faced to them by Wolves, and it's getting a bit easy. And you're looking at it getting to half time with the scores at 2-1. Hopefully then push forward and go for another goal. But right before half time, Anton Stack again picking up a stray Wolves ball in the centre of the park, and he lays it off to Okafor, who slots home just for a third goal before half time, and you think that wraps up the 3 points. The second half, was a bit more defensive. However, I don't think that was through any fault of our own. Wolves ramped it up. They brought new players on and players which showed a lot of quality in the past. So they brought on some good players, Strand Larsen being one of them. And, they obviously were naturally going to take more control in the game. I don't think you can ever expect in the Premier League to have 70-80 possession at the level we're at now. There's always going to be times when we're out of possession, we're defending. I don't think that means we're inviting the pressure. That's just purely the way the game swings, and you're always going to have that in the games. But they made the changes. They had more men up the field, but we defended really well. Rodon, I thought, was really good with stroke. But Gudmundsson was emphatic, battling on the left wing. And a lot of times, there was times where I thought, should Brendan come off? but he left a marker on Wolves fullback, really, really proven to himself and to Farke and to the fans why he's on the pitch for as long as he is. Jack Harrison come on, he did a job. I don't think that was the wrong substitution either. I think that was the right sub that should have been made and was made. And I feel like he did it justice as well. I don't think anybody had a bad game. Like I say, Okafor didn't have his best game in a shirt, but that's just because of the standards that you set for him and what you're expecting based on what he's done in the past, being at AC Milan and Napoli. However, once he gets more match sharpness, I think his performances will improve, and Calvert-Lewin already getting off with a goal. I think he's maybe going to burst into life now, and it could be the striker that Leeds need in the Premier League this year to keep them up. So I think from Farke it was a good game managerial-wise and tactically. I think he outdid Wolves, the midfield, all of them. Ampadu, again, having another solid 8 out of 10 performance. Longstaff and Stack, all of them 8 out of 10s minimum today. Longstaff going under the radar, in my opinion. A signing which not many really looks too happy about and probably thought it was a bit underwhelming and was very overlooked. But you look at it now and he's keeping Tanaka out of the team, a lot of experience in the Premier League, and he's not putting a foot wrong. Tanaka's going to have to work to get it back in this team, and I don't see it happening unless there's an injury. So I think it's another position where we've got a lot of competition, a lot of quality competition, and it's going to only help us going further into the season. And then looking at Cal Darlow, he's come in for Luke Perry, who didn't have the best start to the season, but he was coming in with a lot of pedigree, playing European football last season. So there was a lot of excitement around him. But with his feet, against Arsenal especially, he had a few blunders nearly and hasn't looked the best. But Cal Darlow has been sublime, which not many would have said when you've gone back to pre-season. If you'd have said that Cal Darlow would be keeping Perry out of the team, I think a lot of people would have turned their noses up at that. But he's proven himself, and hopefully Daniel Farke sticks with him because he doesn't deserve to be dropped for the Bournemouth game. So, in my opinion, if you're looking at that Bournemouth game, I think it'd be hard to drop anybody, really, after that type of performance. I don't think he will drop anyone. Maybe might see Tanaka, but I don't know if Farke is likely to bring out Longstaff, but that's probably the only change. That and maybe Lucas Perry as well. But again, Farke doesn't really bring in players based on who they are or their ranking in the squad. If you're playing well in Farke's eyes, you stay in the team, and if he keeps up that rhetoric, then Darlow and Longstaff will remain in this side until they are proven to not warrant a place in the team. So overall, it's been a solid performance this weekend, and another 3 points on the board into top half of the table, and it's looking pretty. Wolves now, 5 points adrift or something ridiculous. It's looking a bit rough, and to give their manager a new contract on a 3-year deal a day or two before the game seems all the more ludicrous now from the Wolves board. However, that's their problems. I think Wolves will be down there. I don't think they'll be in the Premier League next year. I think they've had their run. But I think that's well documented, the reasons why they've not really recovered since they got rid of Nuno a few years ago. It's sort of been on a downwards trajectory from then on. And the spend has lowered, and, the overall squad hasn't really got the same quality it once used to. So I think this will be the end of Wolves' time in the Premier League. And, you look at teams like West Ham, the longer they stick with Graham Potter, the worse it's going to get for him and the harder it will be to recover in the future with a new manager. So I don't know if West Ham will go down. However, we can all sort of hope that they get dragged in as much as they can. I do think Burnley will go down. However, it won't be such a landslide like many probably once thought, even me included. I do think it'll be a situation where it goes down to probably one of the last few games of the season and their fate's decided pretty late on. But they'll put up a good fight. They've looked really good defensively. They've had a few good results in terms of performances. However, conceded in last minute to Liverpool and other games throughout, they've really suffered. And it's not really been fair on them because they've performed well defensively in their fixtures until those points where it's just a lack of concentration in the final moments. So if they can fix that and fix the concentration and keep up the defence, then they'll start to pick up more points. They've already beaten Sunderland this year, who have had a great start. You know, same with Leeds. If we can beat Burnley and Sunderland when it comes to playing them, and more teams around us like West Ham's and Brentford's and Brighton's and Palace, then, you know, we're going to give ourselves a very, very good chance at staying in the league. At the minute, it's still too early to say. It's easy to get excited now, but it's too early to say whether we're going to stay up or not. But the more performance we put in like that, it'll be hard to really look at anybody else because we've got some real quality and we've got some depth in our squad as well, which other teams don't have in terms of your Burnley and your Wolves as well. As much as they were bringing players off the bench, a lot of them were injured first teamers who were coming back. So I do think that Leeds have got a long way to go. Obviously, we'll make signings in January, potentially Harry Wilson, you never know. But it's a good start in terms of first away win. You look at it, 7 points on the board now. So we're slowly but surely getting away and, you know, 8 more wins. And fingers crossed we'll be there or thereabouts the safety mark. So if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Any suggestions? I'm going to make this sort of a regular thing. Have some opposition fans coming on for pre-matches. First one being Bournemouth this week, so probably get a Bournemouth fan on. And then next we'll probably do a match review of the Bournemouth game, potentially some bits in between. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. So yeah, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.